Hi, I'm Izzy, and this is Dizzy Quilts and Sews. In today's video, I have a fun collaboration I did with Sew Carol, where we decided to fit a big 4 t-shirt pattern perfectly to our bust. All right, a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, Carol and I were chatting as we do, and she challenged me to try and make a big 4 pattern, and that we would pick an easy-ish one to try and fit to our bodies. Now, both of our trouble areas are basically the bust when we try to fit a pattern that was not designed for anything bigger than a B cup. And so we picked McCall's M6964. Now I know this has been reprinted or rebranded as a Butterick pattern. I've had this in my stash forever and a day. So I think Carol has the Butterick version of this. I have seen many people make this in many of the views and have very good success with it. So I was feeling hopeful. It's a Palmer Plesh pattern, so we figured, Carol and I figured it would be an easy one to fit. All of the lines are already on the pattern, and I'll show you the pattern piece in a minute. But we figured if we just follow the instructions in the pattern and follow the Palmer Plesh method, we will end up with a t-shirt that fits really, really well. The first thing I needed to do was pick my size. So on the pattern envelope, it says, so my measurements, so you know, are my bust is about 46, 47-ish, almost 47. My waist is 40 and my hips are 48. Now the hips would be negligible in this case because I don't wear my t-shirts very long. They usually don't need to go over my hips. So I wasn't really paying attention to the hip measurements, but the bust obviously and the waist were going to be important in this case. Now I almost fit into a size 24. Now the bundle I have goes from a size 16 to 24, which means I would have to cut the largest size. But I do know from watching a bunch of videos, especially from Tomcat Stitchery, that when you're making a big 4 pattern and that you are a little busty, you don't pick your size based on the bust size here. You pick the bust size based on your high bust measurement, and that's important if you want the shoulders to fit you. So if I looked at the size chart over here, my high bust is a 41, which would mean a size 18. So a size 18 graded to a size 24 at the waist and hips, plus a Mahusive full bust adjustment. So in my head, that's what I thought I would need to do. But I tried to cheat the system. And let me show you how I did that. All right, so after tracing the pattern, grading from an 18 shoulders to a 24 bust, hip, waist, and hips, I thought, well, the finished garment measurements on the pattern piece of the size 24 should fit me everywhere. So I'm just gonna wing it or use the cheater method and just do that. So I cut my fabric, and here is the result I got. So as you can tell from the video, yes, it's very, very snug. And the reason for that is that choosing my bust, choosing a 24 based on my bust measurement, even though I was choosing an 18 for the shoulders, like the size 24 finished measurement is an all-around finished measurement. I need room in the front. So in the back, it looks crazy snug because the front is being pulled to cover my bust. That was not working at all. So I needed to go back to the drawing board and just do a full bust adjustment the old-fashioned way, and I knew that doing the full bust adjustment would not only add width to the front where I needed it, but it would also add it to the waist and hips, as well as adding length. Now, I didn't need the extra length. I knew I was going to cut off a whole bunch of the bottom, but I didn't remove any of the added width or length after doing my full bust adjustment. What I started with is a 1 inch on the pattern piece, which meant 2 inches total. I thought that would be more than enough. I don't know why I didn't just do the math and the calculations and get to an exact number I would need, but whatever, I didn't. So decided I was going to try a 2 inch. And I used the pattern I had traced, used the Palmer Pletch line. So let me show you what they look like on the pattern piece. All right, hopefully you're going to be able to see this. So the pattern piece already has your full bust adjustment lines right on the pattern. And then it tells you in the instructions, cut this line up to here and cut that line up to there. So I didn't even need to figure out where to put lines and where to cut, to use the pivot method. It's all on the pattern piece, which is pretty awesome. So like I said, I did a 1 inch full bust adjustment on the pattern piece, which meant I was getting 2 inches across. I was gonna get added width at the waist, which I looked like I needed, as well as added width at the hips. I cut my fabric. By the way, the fabric I used for my first 2 versions is a horrible ITY I got from Minerva.com years ago. And I bought it. It was so cheap. I think it was like £1.50 a meter. And I bought it for the specific purpose of making muslins, like knit muslins. So it filled its purpose in life. I've now done 2 muslins with this horrible fabric, but it's terrible to sew with. It's like sewing with plastic. So yeah, I do not recommend purchasing really cheap ITY from anybody. This is not on Minerva, but yeah, it's disgusting, really disgusting to wear, to sew, to cut. Yeah. So yeah, so my second version, still with the horrible ITY and the 2 inch full bust adjustment, came out like this. Now, it's a little bit better, but it's still pulling. And I still feel like the bust dart, because when you do an FBA, you can basically add a dart, even in a knit fabric, or you can ease the extra fullness in, or you can rotate the dart. I never really wrapped my brain around that. I personally don't mind having darts in a knit fabric, really don't mind it. So I just added a dart, but it was a little bit too high, which basically meant that the fullness in the bust was not where it needed to be, but I still felt as though it was too snug and I needed more room. So grabbed my pattern piece again, recut on the exact same lines, and added an extra ½ inch and moved down the darts. So let me show you what my pattern piece looks like. All right, so I'm hoping you're gonna be able to see this. Maybe if I move my light a little bit, hold on. All right, so this is my pattern pieces. Now I marked everything in pencil, so you might not even see it, but I have a dart added over here. It's like almost 3 inches that I ended up adding. Well, it is 3 inches because I needed a 3-inch FBA. There are no changes to the arm's eye at all when you do an FBA the way they show you in this pattern, but I did have quite a bit of width added at the waist and at the hip, and I did end up cutting at the waist notch like quite a few inches. I think I ended up taking 2.5 inches. So this is what my crazy pattern piece ended up looking like. So I'm still at an 18 over here, and I'm still at a 24 starting from here, but now I have an extra 3 inches in the form of a dart. So I cut, this time I decided that I was feeling confident enough that I had made the right adjustment, so I was going to cut in better fabric. It's still not precious fabric. This is, and I made this green version. So this is a remnant I had from a cardigan that I made last year that I did not like at all. It never even made it on the channel because it was just not good. But yeah, this is the garment I ended up with after doing a 1.5 FBA on the pattern piece, which ended up giving me 3 extra inches. And here's what the t-shirt looks like now. Much better, don't you think? The only thing that I would absolutely need to change now, if I were to wear this t-shirt, is to move the dart away from my bust apex, because it basically is right at the bust apex, giving me very pointy boobs. And that's really not the goal. So I need to, if I'm ever going to do this again, which I highly doubt, I'm going to be honest, I would need to move the dart back by at least an inch. So it's 1 inch to 1.5 inches away from my bust apex. But besides that, I am very happy with the fit. The shoulders are good. There is no drag line that I can notice. I do have a little bit extra fabric up here, which tells me maybe I needed to grade to a 24 a little bit lower because there's a lot of extra fabric here. But all in all, the fit is okay. And I don't have a lot of drag lines emanating from the bust, which was the goal here. That was the ultimate thing. I did not hem the sleeves or the bottom hem just because I'm never going to wear this t-shirt ever. I could shorten the sleeves, I guess, and wear it as a t-shirt, but the collar is so high, I could never sleep with this. I just could never ever sleep with this. I should have made the V-neck in hindsight, but to me that's way too fiddly in a knit fabric. Anywho, I'm never going to wear this t-shirt. This is going to get turned into rags probably because it is cotton jersey, which, you know, is kind of nice. I'm happy I did this collaboration with Carol because it has confirmed to me that I have no desire to sew with Big 4 patterns. The whole time I was trying to get this pattern to fit me, I was asking myself, why do people do this? Why do people do this? I mean, I can buy a Love Notions pattern. I can buy a cashmerette pattern. Cashmerette actually fits me a lot better right out of the packet than Love Notions does. But I can buy a cashmerette t-shirt, like my Concord tee, for example, and it fits me perfectly without any adjustments. I can just cut and sew. Why would I go through the trouble of making all of these adjustments for a t-shirt? That just blows my mind. Now, I know that some Big 4, Big 5 patterns are now available in larger size ranges, and some of them even have cup sizes, which is amazing. And who knows, maybe one of these days I will try one of those. But Big 5 patterns are not that much cheaper in Canada than indie pattern companies are. I mean, if I were to order patterns on the Simplicity website, for example, I would have to pay the cost of the paper pattern and then the crazy cost of shipping them to my house, and that is just not, it's just not worth it for me. It's just not. I'm happy I did this because I learned how to do a really good FBA, which is amazing. I got to see for myself the whole theory of choosing your bust size based on your high bust and then doing the FBA, and that really and truly does work, but it's just more trouble than it's worth for me. Now, to buy a big 4-5 pattern and to go through all the adjustments I would surely need to make, it would have to be a very, very special garment, something I cannot get from an indie pattern designer or something I don't already own, because I just don't think it's worth it for my body and the amount of time I'm willing to spend making adjustments. Now, I don't want this to be a super negative video. I did enjoy doing this collab with Carol. We messaged back and forth throughout, and she did not have an easy time either. And Carol is nowhere near as busty as I am. So, yeah. Anywho, I had a lot of time. I had a lot of fun doing this with Carol, and that's never a waste of time, is it? But I just won't be making this pattern anytime soon. Now, you know, I do have the Concord that fits me really, really well, so there's no need for me to make a big 4 t-shirt pattern. All right, I would love to know what you think. Are you somebody who loves making big 4, big 5 patterns? Do you have to adjust them as much as I had to adjust this one to even come close to something that fits your body? I would love to hear what your trick is, if you are. Or are you somebody who prefers indie patterns for the same reasons I do? I would love to know in the comments below. Now be sure to go and check out Carol's video. I'm gonna look to it down below. And thank you for stopping by. Please give the video a like on your way out if you liked it, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.